If a tenant just suddenly stops paying rent and just disappears, don't assume you can just take back the property and just throw everything out. California law has a strict process you need to follow just to make sure you protect yourself. First, start by confirming that the rent has been unpaid for at least 14 consecutive days. And then just kind of evaluate the entire situation. Like, is the property empty? Are the utilities actually turned off? Talk to the neighbors. Have the neighbors seen the tenant move out? Essentially, just make a good effort to evaluate the situation. And if you reasonably believe that they abandoned the property, then you can move on to the next step, which would be to serve a notice of belief of abandonment. And this notice, the notice period for that type of notice is 15 days. And that's if you delivered it in person. If you put it in the mail, then you need to allow 18 days for the notice period. If the tenant didn't respond by the deadline in the notice that you served, then you can legally retake possession of the property. But here's where many landlords get in trouble, and they don't know what to do with the tenant's personal property. If the tenant leaves behind anything of value, California law requires that you store it and give the tenant a chance to reclaim the property. And you need to document the items and then send another notice called a notice of right to reclaim abandoned property. So, and after you serve the notice, and then you need to store the property for at least 15 days so that the tenant has time to actually come back and get it. Now, if the items are worth less than $700 and the tenant doesn't claim the items, then you can dispose of it. So if they're worth more, then you're actually required to sell them at a public auction with a public notice. You might have seen those in the paper. But I'll give you a real world example. One of our tenants moved out and just unexpectedly, and they left a pile of what just looked like trash in the garage. So our maintenance person cleared it out, and then a week later, the tenant called furious. He said we had thrown out his golf clubs. So they were in a bag under a tarp, and we didn't realize the value. So that single mistake could have led to a legal claim, but the rule is, if you're in doubt, store it and document it. So you don't have to store garbage or worthless items, but just be cautious. What looks like junk to one person could be a $1,000 set of golf clubs to another person. So at Raintree Property Management, we handle abandonment of items and abandonment of their property just by the book, by the law, so that our clients stay protected. So if you're unsure about your legal responsibilities, you don't have to risk it and go it alone. Contact us and visit our site to see how we protect landlords. And a good way to start off a conversation with us is just ask us to send you a free rental analysis. Thanks.